statement of the Quad Foreign Ministers meet has condemned the Pahalgam terror attack of April 22nd. The condemnation has arrived in the strongest terms. It firmly pitches for action against cross-border terrorism. So much so, the Quad grouping has called for bringing the perpetrators, organizers and financiers of the Pahalgam terror attack to justice without any delay.
The world must display zero tolerance. Victims and perpetrators must never be equated. And India has every right to defend its people against terrorism, and we will exercise that right. We expect our Quad partners to understand and appreciate that. India plans to host the next Quad summit. We have some proposals on how to make that productive. I'm sure so do our partners.
In fact, it has urged UN member nations to extend cooperation for it. However, the joint statement has not mentioned Pakistan or the 4-day military conflict between India and Pakistan in May. Now let's tell you about the meeting in Washington. It was attended by India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong and her Japanese counterpart Takeshi Iwaya. To quote the joint declaration's excerpt on terrorism, the Quad unequivocally condemns all acts of terrorism and violent extremism in all its forms and manifestations, including cross-border terrorism, and renews our commitment to counter-terrorism cooperation. We call for the perpetrators, organizers and financiers of this reprehensible act to be brought to justice without any delay and urge all UN member states, in accordance with their obligations under international law and relevant UN Security Council resolutions, to cooperate actively with all relevant authorities in this regard. That's what the joint declaration of the Quad said. Now, it should be noted that the UNSC resolution of April 25th condemning the Pahalgam terror attack was necessary but inadequate. Why so? Because the UNSC did not name the resistance front that initially claimed responsibility for the attack. In fact, it did not even refer to the group's linkages to a UNSC-designated terror outfit, the LET. Nor did it expressly speak of cooperation with the government of India as it had in the past. Finally, the UNSC resolution made no mention of the terrorists' intent to target non-Muslims, an abhorrent act aimed at instigating communal tensions. A comparison with previous such statements would make it clear that the language was watered down, given that Pakistan is a member of the UNSC this year and has China's support. China has in the past too sought to veto statements critical of Pakistan. And that's why the Quad Joint Declaration's message becomes extremely critical for multilateralism and principal forums like the UNSC in today's geopolitical calculus. Even more so for the UN state members that include Pakistan and China. Also, for future UNSC resolutions to not give in to any coercion by terror sponsors like Pakistan. Remember, Quad's message on terrorism is loud and clear, even more so for China and Pakistan that blocked India's bid to call out the Pahalgam terror attack in the SCO joint statement. So much so, the SCO Defence Ministers meet concluded without a joint statement. In fact, India's Defence Minister, Mr. Rajnath Singh, urged countries to unite against terrorism and hold perpetrators accountable, something that the Quad Foreign Ministers' joint declaration has addressed, a sharp contrast to the SCO Defence Ministers' joint statement. The bitter irony being the purpose of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization was to fight terrorism. It's little surprise why Rajnath Singh called out the double standards of member nations of the bloc, primarily China. That the SCO joint communique did not make any mention of the Pahalgam terror attack in which India was a victim has exposed the fault lines of the 10-member grouping of SCO, much to the dislike of US critics who were speculating that US tariff policies have weakened the Quad as a grouping, a lie that now stands exposed after the Quad's current joint statement.